right there. Nice finisher inside on a two-way dealio with the New York Knicks.
Tyrell Terry for Memphis back in the starting lineup after missing a game recently with some thumb soreness. Sean McDermott on a two-way contract will be in the front court with Freddie Gillespie. And meanwhile, for Westchester, the injuries continuing to that orange sweatshirt.
Yeah, I love that WNBA hoodie. He's got one myself. But in addition to his 20 points, he also averages 10 rebounds a game. They've been working on his playmaking. Really smooth customer on the court. Going to be a big loss for Westchester.
Opening tip to the Hustle. They are in the white at 4-8. The Westchester Knicks in the blue, the designated home team down in Lake Buena Vista. Terry on the baseline, opening up the scoring for the Hustle. What do you think is important tonight, Kevin?
Well, you know, for Memphis, they lose, they are out of the postseason. So they got to keep it going. They just snapped a 5-game losing skid against Agua Caliente, and they really had a very strong fourth quarter to pull that one out. I'm going to want to see some more solid play from Tyrell Terry, Sean McDermott, of course, Freddie Gillespie. And then for Westchester, you're down a few of your top players. No Scal Labissiere as well, a guy who has a lot of NBA rotation experience. As they give it to Gillespie inside, I really like that baby hook. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing the return to professional basketball of Festus Ezeli, who's with Westchester.
Jared Harper pull up, lips out. Westchester could certainly use some inside presence tonight without the availability potentially of Scal Labissiere and definitely playing without Simi Chatou. There's J.J. Moore, who was picked up mid-season and thrusted into the starting lineup for Westchester. He played last year with the Knicks under the tutelage of Derek Alston, the Westchester head coach, now in his second season. Moore was traded in the offseason to a team that's not participating in the bubble. So he was an entry in the G League draft, went undrafted, joined the available player pool down in the bubble, and was ultimately selected by Westchester in season. And that is the journey for J.J. Moore to go from playing for the Knicks last year to back in the blue and orange now as McDermott makes it 6-0 Memphis.
Yeah, that's a really nice pickup for Westchester, a G League veteran who's been in their system, a guy they could just pick up from the available player pool, and he's had some really nice moments for them, averaging close to 9 points a game for Westchester.
2 minutes gone by, all 6 in favor of Memphis. That out of the reach of Sean McDermott, picked up by Lewis King, and he goes coast to coast for Westchester's first bucket.
David, he has really impressed me here in the G League bubble this year. He has been on fire from downtown, shooting 50%, but so athletic and lanky and can do the steal and score just like he did that last possession. And here it is again. Lewis just jumping the passing lane, then coming down and yamming it. Yeah, former two-way contractee with the Detroit and Grand Rapids last year.
You know, he's somebody, according to ESPN.com's Jonathan Gavoni, as one free throw to be shot by Terry. That's the experimental G League rule over the course of the first 46 minutes. King was one and done at Oregon, and if he was still in school, he would be a college junior. And Gavoni kind of hypothesized, as we take a look at Jason March, the second-year head coach for Memphis, that King, if he was performing at this level as a junior in college, would be a no doubt about it first-round pick.
Yeah, and that's kind of the trade-off that these, 19-year-olds kind of have to make in a decision, because they're kind of told that all right, if you're older, then your draft stock goes down. Teams want to work with younger prospects, but if you can produce, at a high level as a junior or senior even, who's to say you can't be a first-round draft pick? So it's a tough decision that these kids have to make.
Yeah, he was undrafted after just one season as Jared Harper just shoulders Stockton out of the way, and Westchester with a couple of transition layups has pulled to within 2.
Yeah, don't let that 5'11", 175-pound frame from Harper fool you. He is a strong dude.
Stockton, awkward off the dribble. Harper finds it. Blocking foul is called. There is King looking to be aggressive early. Kevin talked about his shooting. He's also a capable downhill driver. Still just 21 years old, and something that Gavoni referenced is that NBA scouts feel that there's still untapped potential on the defensive end for his height and length and athleticism.
Yeah, I don't know what exact wingspan is. It's probably, inching towards 7 feet, high 6'10", 6'11", something like that. But it's that length that makes you think he could really improve on the defensive end. And if he gets that together, then watch out. He could certainly get another shot in the association.
Stockton missed from in tight. Harper gets called for the travel. Thought perhaps somebody was trailing at the wing for him. Rare mistake for Harper, who has earned the praise of his head coach, Derek Alston, for the way that he runs the team as the leader at point guard. Almost an indispensable piece for Westchester this season at that spot. Stockton open for three. That's off the front of the rim. Moore taps it to Harper. Andrew White III improved in transition, got to the rack.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say, David. He's known as a three-point shooter, and then when I watched the last game against Iowa, he looked really good at getting to the hoop, even in the half court as well, something that I hadn't necessarily seen a whole lot from him in previous G League seasons.
Westchester has scored 8 straight. King crossing over in the paint, up and good. Lewis King gets to the rim for Westchester as the Knicks extend the run to 10 in a row.
Yeah, really impressive move there from Lewis King. Had obviously the size advantage on David Stockton, but kind of in a transition scenario to be able to Euro step his way and finish over Stockton was really nice.
Stockton hitting from 14 feet. 5 minutes into the opening quarter. In a game that Memphis has to have to keep its playoff hopes alive, Westchester wants it to keep pace, as they are currently on the outside looking in also. J.J. Moore, and one. The type of hustle play that he could make. And the 29-year-old, always good for a flex.
Yeah, he's playing the 5 here in the G League. A nice and one. How about Lewis King? The steal and slam for Westchester out to the 4-point lead on the hustle.
Let's go, Peloton! Welcome to your 30-minute full.
Them in their last couple games, these fourth quarters have been disastrous. They got outscored 39-20 in the fourth against Iowa, 37-17 in the fourth against Raptors 905. They've been playing a great first 36 minutes, but they got to put together a full 48 if they want to stay in this playoff chase.
You did their last game, right, over the weekend?
I did not. I just watched it last night. Up late, burned the midnight oil, watching me some Westchester Dub Knicks tape.
That was a 22-point second-half collapse against an Iowa team that was 1-10, and a tough loss for Westchester to swallow, knowing that they're right in the thick of the playoff hunt. As Sean McDermott knocks down a 3. It's been nice watching his progression after he made his debut within the last week in the G League bubble. You can see the increased comfort that he plays with. J.J. Moore going right at the youngster Gillespie.
Yeah, vet move there from J.J. Moore. He's played with Long Island. He's played with Westchester. We've given his backstory onto how he got on the Dub Knicks this year, but a really nice move inside.
McDermott on the kick out to Shaq Buchanan. Spinning, Buchanan off the glass and good. A nice move for the Murray State product, who once shared a backcourt with Ja Morant.
Yeah, and we've seen Ja Morant at Memphis Hustle games in the past to check out his good friend, Shaq Buchanan.
Harper on the pull-up knocks it down. Great story that Buchanan told recently on either Hustle or G League social media how Buchanan and Morant visited Murray State the same weekend and then both committed shortly after that visit together.
Yeah, they really had a nice run in the NCAA tournament that 2019 season, getting to the second round. Of course, Buchanan was a JUCO transfer, and Morant was coming straight out of high school.
Andrew White III pulling up, and that is off the rim, down to Terry. First year out of Stanford and a second-round draft pick, who toes the line, fires. Gillespie battling there with Moore. And it's Miles Powell, the only rookie on the Westchester squad, into the game and running the point guard spot. Moore knocks down a three. J.J. Moore for Westchester, a perfect start from the field, and 7 points to lead the Knicks.
And these are big minutes they're going to need out of him. Who knows how long Festus Ezeli could play. You mentioned no Shatu, no Scala BCA. And they don't have much big man depth, and J.J. Moore, I guess, is a big man at 6'6" in the G League, but a great start for him.
I believe you're referencing the fact that Moore is a G League 5?
A G League 5, an NBA 3.5.
The right conversion. Very good.
Yeah, just a clean-looking stroke, a guy who, in the past, last year with Westchester, he was a 40% three-point shooter, so he can fill it up from distance if he gets the opportunities.
Well, Scala BCA was questionable, and the question has been answered. He is out there dealing with a knee contusion. The pass to Lewis King, and then the wraparound for Harper is picked off. Ahmad Kaver, one of the best in the league in steals, and also a great scorer off the bench for the Hustle.
And he has had a great second-year jump. Averaged 10 points per game last year, close to 17 this year. We see that with guys every now and then. They have a solid rookie season in the G League, and then they really take off their second year, kind of like a Gabe Vincent last year with the Stockton Kings, who worked his way up to Miami.
Yeah, I think you will find coaches and agents and just general people in the league that will say, give the G League a chance. Allow yourself to go through a couple of years of the development system, and instead of the sophomore slump, a number of players really excel as King is fouled in transition after the steal.
Yeah, I mean, David, that's a great point because it's a big transition from college to the pros. As we get a timeout here, and Westchester leads by 4, but it's not always the easiest. Ahmad Kaver doing it on both ends of the floor. A nice steal, then he's able to push out in transition and taking himself go coast-to-coast AC out of ODU Old Dominion. David was mentioning his steals. He's top 5 in the G League, 4th at 1.9, just under 2. So if he gets a couple more in this game, he could get that average up to 2 steals per game.
As a team, Memphis is 3rd overall in that category. And it's interesting, Kevin, to see Paul Reed. I mean, this is a list of guards and wings, and then you got a 5-man, 3rd best in the league in steals.
B-ball Paul is doing it all, y'all. I mean, the double-double. I think he's also averaging like 2 blocks per game as well. He's been shooting around 40% plus from 3. He has been a joy to watch for the Bluecoats.
Does this still count as G League After Dark if the sun is still up where you are?
Well, if the play-by-play guy is in sundown, then it's after dark.
Or maybe
Them's
it's just
the rules, Professor Resnick.
Or maybe just where the location of the game is?
Yeah, that's probably
that
more.
Works. Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to see how many inside jokes we can get through during this game without anybody noticing. James Young on the pull-up. That's off the mark.
Over under 4.5.
Who will take it out there? I don't know. I know we have a friend that would. Driving in, Kaver, no. Picked up by McDermott on a second chance, and that goes.
Sean McDermott's got a silky smooth game, a guy who really had to battle coming out of high school, had to deal with a staph infection. They thought he wouldn't be able to play again. Then he gets his way to Butler, 5 years there, and has really developed into a nice player for the Grizzlies.
24 years old, a minute 40 to go. Each team has led by 6 at one point in this first half. That goes down for Jaleel Tripp.
David, that was a great pass. That quick whip one-time pass by Shakur Juiceum to set up Tripp in the corner, who, going into his last game was just 23% from three, hit a couple of threes against Agua Caliente, and is really starting to warm up from distance now.
Miles Powell along two.
David, he's getting an NBA contract at some point, Miles Powell. He's just too good.
Benny Boatwright off the mark. I mean, the last time we worked together, you put everybody who wasn't in the NBA in the NBA, but you think Powell is a guy that deserves it?
I think with what he's been able to do, his efficiency shooting from beyond the arc, he's averaging a steal 0.6 per game, otherwise known as 1.6 steals. He's really
That's
just
how they
getting
say
it done.
in the academic community.
Yeah, yeah. As a professor at Iona, you would know that.
No name dropping. No name dropping. Bryce Brown into the paint, gets the loose ball, but could not finish. Houston up ahead to McDermott. With the shot clock off, Ahmad Caver will hold and bleed clock. Powell gearing in defensively. Caver goes right by him. There wasn't any help until he lost it. Young does not beat the buzzer, and so his shot attempt came late. 1 point Westchester lead. Memphis needing this game to keep their hopes alive. Westchester trying to keep pace as they are in the outside looking in. Back and forth first quarter as we head to the second. Jason March, the second-year head coach for Memphis, coaching just about 45 minutes away from where he grew up in Frostproof, Florida. Big Tampa Bay Bucks fan, and he had to watch the Super Bowl in the bubble, surrounded by his team. And just in case they're unaware or they forget who won the Super Bowl this past year, there's a Tampa Bay Bucks flag in their team meeting room. Scala BCA counted and won as he flushed it down with the nice bounce pass, pocket pass to him from Tyler Hall.
That was a really nice pass from Hall. But just to put a capper on your story, David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I heard you on a previous broadcast say he went to the regular season game between Casey and the Buccaneers, right?
As they say, you never know who's listening. That's correct. He went with his son during the regular season, saw a Kansas City win against his beloved Bucks. But then both Tom Brady and Jason March got their revenge when it mattered most. With Kevin Dana, David Resnick, Westchester in the blue, getting the ball back after the Houston turnover. Memphis in the white. At 4-8, a loss knocks them out of the playoff hunt.
I don't mean to rain on the hustle parade here, but the likelihood of a 7-8 team making the playoffs is pretty low. You're going to need RGV to lose their last 2 games. You're going to need the Lakeland Magic to lose their last 3 games, and you're going to need a couple of teams above you to not get to 8-7. It's going to be tough. Like, it's mathematically possible. I just think it's highly improbable. So, yes, they're still alive, but they're going to need a lot of help to get in.
That is some higher ed mathematics right there.
Yeah, I mean, you just think, less than half of the league makes the playoffs, so you would have to probably win more than half of your games.
LaBCA sticks with it. Yeah, I thought the number would be 9.
Yeah.
I figured that maybe there could be an 8-7, but unlikely. I don't know what your calculations.
Yeah, no, mine was 9-6 gets the job done. 8-7, you might have a chance.
Like you need 8-7 in the right tiebreaker, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Benny Boatwright knocks down a 3. got one of my favorite handles, not dribbling handles, but Twitter handles in the league at Benny Buckets. This lob attempt broken up by James Young, but it stays with the hustle. That nearly lipped out, but it stayed down for Anthony Cowan Jr. as the hustle continues to play hard despite the prognostication from Kevin Dana.
Hey, as long as you still have something to play for, and you do more than just standings here. You're playing for an NBA contract. You're playing to impress scouts, try to get on a G League team for next year if that's the case for you. So there is still a lot to play for. And I really like what Cowan's done for this team. He just hit the three. He's kind of been a steady Eddie. He's only turned it over 6 times this year, and he's shooting 41 from deep.
That's Ahmad Caver. 3 of 4 from the floor to start. Bryce Brown on the entry to LeBCA. Turning to face up against Justin. Three minutes gone by, second quarter. Hall open for 3. That's a rarity.
41% from downtown. He's one of those guys. He's had a couple of games where he's hit like his first 3 threes and he just like can't miss in the first quarter. A big-time scorer in the Big Sky at Montana State.
Cowan uses the screen, probing in, blocked by LeBCA. James Young on the bounce. Miles Powell the finger roll. Third tie of the first half, 8 and change to go. Good hands by Tyler Hall. Another guy we had mentioned earlier in one of our mindless discussions sometimes about Ahmad Caver, who is in his second year taking the next step. But first we look at the rookie Powell on the lay-in from the veteran Young. Tyler Hall in his second year with Westchester, rounding out his game to more of a complete player.
Yeah, he's been really impressive. We know about the three-point shooting, but you saw him get a deflection there defensively, playing the passing lanes, and sometimes it does take a little while to kind of learn how to play defense at the next level. And like we said, it's such a different game, and you are asked to do different things. The G League is more about kind of individual skill development, where in college, well, a guy like Tyler Hall, he could just get buckets whenever he wanted to at Montana State, but sometimes for other players, you're asked to kind of fill a certain hole, and you're not allowed to do – maybe not allowed to do more than that, but that's what you're out there to do, like 1 or 2 things. And so being able to expand your skill set is something that really happens in the G League, and sometimes it takes more than a year to really show the whole toolbox.
David Stockton back in for Memphis. Boatwright left it short. Up ahead, James Young got his footing and lays it in. Cowan Jr. using the screen. The little floater in the paint is there.
The entire Westchester bench was calling for a carry there on Cowan. But, hey, the guy who's only turned it over 6 times on a season, you're not going to call that on Cowan.
You think refs know those numbers going in?
I think they looked at his assist-to-turnover ratio and said, we can't muck it up. No, just kidding. I don't think they know those numbers.
Blocked away by Gillespie. Tyler Ricks, Julian Scott, Kelsey Reynolds. Maybe they checked a few box scores before today's game. They are our officials tonight.
That would be I would love to ask those officials if they know players' stats going into the games. I mean, not that it would affect how they officiate the game, but just how cognizant they are of, like, how good and how effective each of these guys are.
They must know tendencies, because think about it. They leave every game with a copy of the game to review their performance and to go over any controversial calls or questionable ones. Freddie Gillespie in the paint. And you'd imagine that most of them have significant basketball backgrounds that in just by osmosis, watching these players, they understand what tendencies to look for on the floor. Jared Harper knocks down a three. Are you in agreement with that thought?
Yeah, I am, because you brought up a good point that, these nobody watches more tape really than officials. So they really pour over those games. Their day starts like maybe 8 hours before a game. They have meetings. They get together. They go over tape. They know kind of like, all right, what teams might like to do as far as how physical a game can get. So they know exactly what they're looking for when they come into these games. I'm just curious if they do a little stat perusing as well.
To the corner and a knockdown three for Boatwright. So at the top of the film food chain, or the top of the film pyramid, you have officials and Kevin Dana.
It's actually probably coaches.
That's what assistants are for.
Coaches, then Dakota Schmidt of ridiculous upside. Officials, then go down 7 rungs, and then you get Danaman and Rezi Rez.
5:30 to go, first half. 2-point Memphis lead as Terry a bit out of control on the drive, but earns the whistle with the blocking foul.
Couple of times, but he had 3 blocks yesterday as well. He's on an NBA contract with the Memphis Grizzlies, Jonte Porter and Gillespie, hoping to get the Gatorade himself, get his first NBA deal.
Yeah, Porter, part of the overall plan by the Memphis Grizzlies organization for Jonte, where he does not play in consecutive games, and especially with the win yesterday, getting the planned night off today. J.J. Moore driving in, goes to the left hand, wanted a whistle, ball is still loose. Tyler Hall picks it up, Andrew White III has his feet set, and he splashes it down.
I mean, what a perfect name to have for a three-point shooter. White the third, and your number's 3, hits a 3. He has a really smooth-looking jumper.
Too bad his name isn't Trey.
Yeah, Trey White the third. Come on, White family.
His siblings are actually all the same A first letter. Him and his siblings have the same initials. I wish I could remember what they were. But Terry knocks down a 3.
So then you know what the White family needed to do was to figure out what language the number 3 starts with an A. Like, it's not Spanish, that's tres. I think French is trois.
That'll be your halftime assignment.
Ein, zwei, drei. I think drei was that a D in German? I don't know any other languages.
It's not Hebrew, that's Shalosh.
So that would be an S.
Yeah. Not good. We're coming up empty here.
Yeah.
Good idea, though. Stockton. Splash. David Stockton has been on a scoring tear as of late.
He had a game against Santa Cruz where he started the game 13 for 17 from the field, and he was hitting deep threes, doing it all. He's been a lot of fun to watch over the last 7 years.
White the third on the cut. Talk about a G League veteran who's gotten noticeably better. Improved defense. Look at him stay in front of McDermott there. Be in right position for the closeout, but McDermott with the quick trigger knocks it in.
Yeah, good defense from White, better offense from McDermott. Talked about that jumper looks really good. Only 27% from 3 through his first 3 games. Obviously a small sample size. I expect that number to go north.
Jared Harper tries to answer. Gillespie shoulders his teammate out of the way to snatch that rebound. Better for his stat line.
Exactly. Exactly, David. He's got to get those stats, man.
McDermott tries the other side. That's off the iron. Gillespie squeezes between 2. Offensive rebound and the stick back. Memphis leading by 10, largest lead of the night.
NBA scouts have to be salivating when they watch Freddie Gillespie. It's just hard to think that this guy was playing Division III college basketball and then was a walk-on at Baylor before he finally got his scholarship. I mean, he has it all. Huge hands so he can palm the rock. Really moves very well around the basket. Nice offensive rebound.
22-8 run for the Hustle. Free throw worth 2 points for Lewis King is no good. We were tied at 36. McDermott probing, leading in and scoring. Sean McDermott, 12 points in this first half for the rookie out of Butler.
Yeah, 21 his last time out. He's really getting his sea legs underneath him. You know, since he got to the bubble late, he had to quarantine 4 days, so he didn't get a training camp with this group. He was coming off a shoulder injury kind of in January, early February, and so it's taken him a while to get going, but now that he's gotten going, you could see why he is on a 2-way contract.
What was interesting is coming off of that shoulder injury that you described, he had played 5 games in the NBA before then being sent to the bubble to get extended time. And, you know, like missing 1 week of action, like if you talk to athletic trainers, it takes 2 weeks to get back to the point where you were. And so it's no surprise to see McDermott get better each and every game he's out there. Here's Gillespie on the pull-up. Does not get the bounce. White the third for Westchester with the rebound. Lewis King lurking on the baseline for 2.
But hey, look who's in, David. Festus Ezeli hasn't played since Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals. Coming off a cadaver surgery for his knee, kind of get a cadaver ligament surgery. He was in a wheelchair for a few months. Great to see him back out on the court.
Gillespie, a left-handed spike. So Ezeli giving Westchester some reinforcements on the back line with Labissiere limited because of a contusion, and then Chateau out as well. And the G League has been used in this form, Kevin, for former NBA players trying to work their way back into the league, get their legs under them. Looks to be in good physical condition. And if you think about a Baron Davis or a Ben Gordon, a Mecca Okafor, if you think about a Kendrick Perkins, I'm sure you have more, like
Tyrese Thomas.
Oh, yeah, when he showed up to showcase?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Hey, got himself a 10-day out of it.
He played for the, Iowa Energy or Memphis?
Yeah, the Iowa Energy at the time, who at the time was run by Memphis, and got a 10-day with Memphis.
That's right. 30 seconds to go in this first half. But the overall point is that it's becoming more in vogue, you know, to use this platform as a chance to get back, or to have it as one final stop to know that, you know, the NBA is not in your future. And so Ezeli joining the bubble late. There was an original list of 12 available players in the pool. J.J. Moore, his current teammate, one of them. And so Ezeli gets picked up by Westchester yesterday to take the spot of Tradeon Hollins, who left Lake Buena Vista for personal reasons. Second difference between game and shot clock. Backdoor look. McDermott, a low pass for Gillespie. Ball is loose. Gillespie wins it back, and then McDermott sends it home to cap off the first half.
That's
5 different players off the bench with at least 5 points. Memphis getting productivity up and down its lineup.
Yeah, so they've had 10 players who have scored in this game, and that's a really interesting stat. 15-2 in fast break points for the team that is trailing by 14.
Lewis King getting denied. Freddie Gillespie in a matchup of a couple of players that Jonathan Gavoni of ESPN.com thinks can earn a call-up in the coming days. With the G League savant, Kevin Dana, I'm David Resnick. Inside of the Fieldhouse, that's where Memphis and Westchester play on the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex. That's David Stockton, who knows his angles to bank it in. Westchester, a game out of 8th place in the standings. The top 8 make the playoffs, while with a loss tonight, Memphis is eliminated. Long rebound, Buchanan fires inside. It's Gillespie, who has his pass taken away. Harper in the open floor, bags a 3.
Yeah, Westchester's going to need more of that, David. He was 3 for 8 from the floor in the first half. That gets him up to 10 points. They're going to need at least 20 out of Harper if the Knicks want to come back.
Stockton at the foul line. The entry, Gillespie turning around over Moore. And to kind of flush out Gillespie a little bit more, Kevin, because I think it deserves some examination in this sense where at 23, that would typically be kind of a demerit against the player as Moore hits a 3. But you talked about his bio earlier where he played 2 years at Division III. His freshman year, he barely got off the bench. He walked on to Baylor before earning a scholarship prior to his junior year where he played 2 years for the Bears. And so even though he's of an advanced age for prospect-wise, as crazy as it sounds at 23, he's somebody who still has raw potential and untapped upside.
Yeah, 100%, David. And not only that, he didn't start playing organized ball until he was in 8th grade. And then even at that, he missed his freshman year of high school with an ankle injury, tore his ACL late in his junior season. He played JV as a sophomore, so he really didn't have a whole lot of experience even after starting at the age of 13 or 14 years old. That's why a lot of people think this guy can really have a high ceiling in this game.
David Stockton sticks at 3. Gillespie, described by Gavoni as a versatile big, and NBA teams are curious what he can become with his defense and hustle and overall play. Jared Harper hanging and hitting. He banks it in.
And sorry to cut you off, David. I was just going to say, with the way he moves on the court, it leads me to believe that there could be some untapped potential with a long-range shot. He's not just some robotic big that moves kind of blockily down the floor, if you will. With his fluidity, you think there might be a possibility that he could develop a jump shot of some sort.
You know, Memphis traded away Jared Utoff, who's having an excellent season with Erie, for the 2nd pick overall, targeting Gillespie.
I think that's a good move. And I love Jared Utoff just as much as anyone. He's great for the Erie Bayhawks. He's played in the NBA for 16 games, but I really like that move. And Gillespie, he's a double-double man here in this league.
Westchester cutting it to single figures on the find. Bryce Brown. Memphis playing back-to-back days. Yesterday, Freddie Gillespie, 5 blocks. Today, he's got 4 more as he's on track for another double-double. 12.7 rebounds just minutes into the 3rd quarter. And this league, Kevin, is about teams for sure, but it's also about individual development. And when you have a prospect like Gillespie, he's somebody that earns attention for the rest of his team.
Yeah, I mean, He came into this game averaging just over 2 blocks per game. I said he was at under 2 blocks. He was just over 2 blocks. So he's had 9 blocks in his last 2 games. If he doesn't get another block in this game, that would bring his average up to like 2.2, 2.3 blocks per game, something like that. And he's just really taken off with his rim protection.
You're really into the statistical projections tonight.
Yeah, I know. I know people don't like listening to math. I'll tone it down a little bit.
King off the mark. Down to Terry. Jason March calling timeout after Westchester pulled to within 9. David Stockton with 12 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Definition of a G League veteran now in his 6th season. 6th all-time in assists in G League history, moving his way up the games played and the points and the assist marks especially. McDermott off the front of the rim. Andrew White III angles for the rebound. Tyler Hall did not start the second half after starting the game, and J.J. Moore connects on a 3. Terry wasn't ready for it, and Westchester gets it back.
You know, they could have called the turnover on Stockton before he threw it in. I think he stepped inbounds before he let that one go, or it was really close. But Tyrell Terry wasn't waiting for it, but Stockton's momentum was carrying him in place, so he just had to let it go. That's a disaster of a turnover there.
Well, speaking of disastrous turnovers, Shaq Buchanan on the other end.
Give it right back. Yikes.
Good foreshadowing, Kevin. Harper wanted the continuation. Believe he will head to the line anyway.
You know, they do call me Dan Adamas, but Shaq Buchanan in transition, government name Leroy hitting it. Another one of those second-year hustlers who's really had a nice bubble campaign. The shooting percentage is down for Shaq this year. The scoring is up a little bit. And he played in some preseason games with the Grizzlies this year as he's looking to get back up to the NBA and perhaps join his boy Ja Morant with the Grizzlies.
When you say they call you a certain name, can you define that group?
Bacon and my imaginary friends.
It's a rough group.
Yeah, tough crowd.
6:40 to go in the third. Off the dribble, Brown struggling to find a rhythm this season. Had a strong rookie campaign with the Maine Red Claws, a team traditionally in the G League not participating in the bubble. Injuries have hampered his availability and contributions to the team. Offensive foul. Boy, is J.J. Moore so good at that.
Yeah, he has been just kind of a godsend here for Westchester with what he's been able to do, drawing the charge on Tyrell Terry. And Westchester is playing with a lot of heart here in the second half. Derek Olsen must have lit a fire underneath them in the halftime locker room.
Lewis King tries to split the gap on the kick out to Young. That's an open look. Somebody opened the door. It's a little drafty in there. Wide left. On the other end, somebody closed it for Tyrell Terry.
He has got a sweet Jimmy, Tyrell Terry. The first one-and-done prospect at Stanford.
Ever?
Yeah, he was the first guy to just play 1 year and go pro.
What, KZ did a couple?
He did 2. The Lopez twins did 2.
Got it.
Childress did 3. I think Casey Jacobson was 3, maybe 4.
How can you leave Palo Alto like that?
Hey,
most beautiful campus anywhere.
According to some. You know, it's, when Bryce Brown with the 3 there, and when you have a chance to make millions of dollars, you take it.
Is that why you left Stanford?
Not quite. I had to stay 4 years. I had to stay 4 years. Couldn't go pro after 3 years of being the head manager.
Miles foul rejected. Good timing by McDermott.
Well, David, you mentioned it. Bryce Brown's kind of been lost in the shuffle for a good chunk of this bubble season. They have a really deep backcourt, but this guy averaged 16 per game for Crustacean Nation last year, the Maid Red Claws. He was close to a call-up, and now just the numbers haven't been there, but he's starting to get his feet underneath him. He's been playing better in recent games.
Could be a big opportunity tonight for Brown as Westchester plays without Ignas Brasdakis, and Tyler Hall has not seen the floor in the second half. It's an offensive foul. Standing in to take it was Terry.
Yeah, in transition, Lewis King, he might not be the heaviest guy, but that's still not a charge that's easy to take. He's coming full steam ahead at you. He has the size on Tyrell Terry, and credit Tyrell for sticking in there.
Caver, and one. He called for it and got it with the acrobatic finish.
Wow. Let's take another look at this. Driving past Powell, gets slapped, and then goes second side and Englished it home. Really nicely done by Ahmad Caver, who has really had a nice season this year, close to 17 a game.
Pull up, air ball, heat check, and a lucky break.
That's a second air ball three from Westchester here in the third quarter. That's one that Ahmad Caver certainly would like to have back. It was in his grasp, and Memphis, that was an uncontested rebound that they were unable to wrangle in.
Lewis King denied. It was off of him. Rim protection by Gillespie and Co. And for Freddie, that is block number 5. He's got 10 in the last 2 games.
And that's one thing he did really well yesterday against Agua Caliente, David, is that when he blocked shots, he was able to hit them off the Agua Caliente players and win possession back for his team.
Is that an emerging skill? Because
I think so.
You would hear, this guy blocks shots, but he puts it into the second row. That's not great. We hope that block shots become live ball turnovers, but that's impressive. Powell the layup, and he is in pain.
I hope he's okay. I think maybe he's just taking an extra beat. But, yeah, to go back to your point, if you can keep possession with your team instead of sending a shot into the stands, that's a possession changer, quite literally, and you rack those up, those could be game changers. So I think that is a skill, a good point you bring up, and Gillespie has really shown a knack for doing just that over these last couple of games.
I was kind of asking tongue-in-cheek, but is that really something that you've noticed?
It is something I've noticed with Freddie Gillespie, for sure. He definitely did that multiple times against Agua Caliente.
That is adding insult to injury. I'm going to block your shot, and I'm going to make sure to redirect it off your body so then we get the ball.
Yeah, that's quite impressive.
Miles Powell makes the free throw. Scal Labissiere has checked back in, replacing J.J. Moore. A lineup of 3 reserves for Westchester with the starter Jared Harper, who hits off the dribble.
He has had a monster of a third quarter. He was at 7 points at halftime. He's up to 22 now.
trying to will Westchester back into it. Andrew White III draws the whistle. Derek Alston just trying to find any lineup to give his team some life. Foul is on Ahmad Caver.
Well, they definitely have life now, David. I think he's pulled the right strings.
Jared Harper walking something off. Andrew White III leaving 2 points on the board. Or on the floor, on the cutting room floor. Caver terminates the dribble. Now it's Anthony Cowan Jr. back in. Pulling up and knocking it down at the end of the shot clock. Dribbled out of trouble and scored.
There was great off-ball movement earlier in that possession to get Caver out of a tough spot because he was kind of hemmed up there.
Headman feed to Cowan. His squad leading by 7. Cowan saves it. Caver. Now Stockton, the underhand scoop. He is such a creative and crafty finisher.
You took the word out of my mouth. That was such a crafty finish inside. You think he's going with his left hand. Nope, underhand scoop with the right.
He brings so much to a G League roster that's typically made up of first and second year players, a group that's under 25 years of age. He's still balling at 29 as Tyler Hall has made his first appearance in the second half.
Yeah, you mentioned the youth of this league, but the great Jerry West would tell you the prime of one's career is 28 to 32. So David Stockton's right in the middle of his prime. So he's playing his best basketball right now as he works to get another NBA contract. And if I was an NBA exec, which I'm not and I never will be, but if I'm looking for a guy on a 10-day contract, I want a guy who's going to give me the best of his capabilities right now, a guy like David Stockton who's in the prime of his career, as opposed to a 22, 23-year-old who can be really good in 2 to 3 years, but right now he's still figuring it out. But I guess I think a little bit differently.
Why would you sell yourself short like that? No negative talk on this broadcast. David Stockton missing from 3. Benny Boatwright, the offensive rebound. He fires away, and he knocks it down. Delay a game. They still don't know the rule, Kevin.
Yeah. You call him Benny Buckets. Well, he calls himself Benny Buckets, and he's living up to it. He's here averaging 14 a game. Hasn't played a whole lot today, but has made a couple of nice shots.
Miles Powell, can he lead the charge back for the Knicks?
Definitely. I mean, Jared Harper's had the heck of a quarter, and now Harper with that last pass has 8 assists. Miles Powell, a guy who is averaging in the 20s, he's coming off the bench. He started 3 games when Brazdakis was out and Jared Harper was out. But to have that kind of scoring off your bench is really nice.
Reach and foul called against Harper on the drive by Stockton. And that earned the ire of the Westchester Knicks bench.
David, I really feel like Stockton's haircut fits perfectly with the Memphis hustle. They kind of give those Jackie Moon vibes off with kind of the hustle font and, that kind of old school 80s feeling. He's kind of got the long hair going. I think it's a great look for this team specifically.
So Because I'm a little esoteric at times, I actually asked Memphis PR if there was anything to all the headbands that the players wear.
Yeah.
And he was just like, they like headbands. You know, like there was no like connection to it, and I was just reading into it too much. So Cowan knocks it in. Doesn't count. They'll review it at the break. But he's sporting a nice headband.
Yeah, I think this will count. We're going to take another
training with the Peloton Tread Plus.
Shaq Buchanan trying to keep up with the rest of his fellow starters. Come on, Shaq, let's go. 4 out of the 5, we kid because we love. 4 out of the 5 starters in double figures, joined by Anthony Cowan Jr., who hit that 3 at the end of the quarter to make it 5 double-figure scores for Memphis. It was confirmed during the break that, in fact, Cowan had got the shot off in time, but Kevin Dana had already determined it was good, so that was good enough for me as Ahmed Kaver puts it in with the G League savant, Kevin Dana. I'm David Resnick. Important game now that we're in the final week of the season. A loss tonight for Memphis. They are eliminated from playoff competition. As for Westchester, a game out of the 8th seed and trending in the wrong direction, losers of the last 2. That's a technical foul. Jared Harper displeased.
Yeah, he thought he was fouled there by Cowan, and he just puts his hands up, claps, probably said something we can't repeat, and there's $50 out of your pockets.
Is that prorated for a shortened season?
That's a good question.
Is that the number?
It used to be the number. I don't know if it still is.
Back when C-level salaries were 19,000?
I asked someone, I think like last year or 2 years ago, I asked like our GM, like I play on the same.
Oh, don't out your person here.
But and they told me that it was still $50. So maybe it's $15 prorated.
So no inflation for the fines, just increase in the salaries.
Hey, that's the way it should be. Great job, Andre Ingram, G League president of the Players Union.
Do you think the fines for technicals were collectively bargained at this point?
I didn't get into that deep of a discussion. But I'll ask Andre when I do my next broadcast with him on Thursday.
That's true. Put him on the spot. Make your demands. Ahmad Kaver sticks at 3. In and out on the Westchester side for Miles Powell, and they are in a danger zone.
Yeah, they really need that one to go down. If you're going to take a quick trigger triple like that to try to combat the 3, it better go in. Otherwise, there were no rebounders there.
LeBCA with the block. Hall gets it back, firing away. It's short after his own miss. King walled up. The entry into Scal. Bumping inside, LeBCA, his hook shot is off the mark.
That's a good job defensively by Boatwright. Didn't let Scal get deep there.
Perhaps not the shot you're looking for from a Westchester perspective. Zipped inside, it's Stockton, the beneficiary of a terrific look.
And perhaps not the defense you're looking for from a Westchester perspective. I mean, he was just hanging out right underneath the hoop. There wasn't a defender within 3 feet.
Cowan's second assist to go along with his double-digit scoring effort. Lewis King. That rims out, but Miles Powell is there for the stick back.
That can't happen. I mean, that's just a sign that you guys aren't locked in defensively, as saying from a Westchester perspective. You give up a make like that, a layup off a made basket, that's just poor transition defense off a make, which should never happen.
Well, 3 players for Westchester ready to check in on the next whistle.
Yeah. That's a good move by Derek Alston. Get some new life into this team.
Kaver showing a major pulse. Cruz, Austin, and Salt Lake City, your 3 winners, as the Stars just wrapped up the victory over the Fort Wayne Mad Ants.
Yeah, that's a gut punch of a loss for Fort Wayne. They were 5-7, now 5-8. It's going to be tough for them to get into the postseason. Even though they're not mathematically eliminated, we've talked about it with Memphis, you probably have to have a winning record to finish in the top 8.
No, they are. This is not hypothetical. Fort Wayne entering today would be eliminated with a loss and a win by either Rio Grande Valley or Westchester. And if memory serves, the Vipers beat Iowa earlier today. So, in fact, happy trails to the Mad Ants.
Nice knowing you, Termites.
Feel bad for John Nolan and company. They fought really hard, but just not meant to be.
John Nolan, good dude, good broadcaster. Bill Hazen, G League legend.
Good point.
Broadcaster.
Called the early days of the Michael Jordan Bulls.
Yes. I also want to say the Pacers, too, at some point.
Miles Powell driving in, a baseline look for White the third as Westchester tries to find something. Anything.
Yeah, they're going to need a lot of something and a lot of anything. But we've talked about it. You mentioned this, David. Just Andrew White III, his development on offense. I mean, that was a great cut on the baseline. He has become more of a slasher and driver this year to supplement his great three-point shooting, and it's really nice to see.
So a lineup of White III, Moore, Hall, Powell, and Brown. And Bryce Brown knocks down the 3.
Yeah, this is what we call a floor spacing lineup for Westchester.
Stockton using the screen, wants to play with Boatwright, who knocks it down and then gets knocked over.
All right, so the last 4 defensive possessions for Westchester, wide open layup, a layup off a made basket, a dunk where there's just a blow-by, and then you foul a three-point shooter for a 4-point play. Not good.
What are you trying to say?
Just trying to say that Derek Alston can't be happy right now.
4-point play for Benny Boatwright coming off the bench tonight. There is a look at Derek Alston, his second year as the head coach. 4-year assistant under Mike Miller, who ultimately became the interim head coach of the New York Knicks and now sits on the bench with Mark Daignault, the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
There's that G League connection. A couple longtime G League head coaches, Daignault and Mike Miller, now on the same bench.
Memphis is led by Taylor Jenkins, a former head coach with the Austin Toros.
Back in the 2012-13 season.
Miles Powell off the dribble, knocks down the 3. Midway through the 4th, just a 14-point game.
Hey, don't throw dirt on him yet. There's still plenty of time, and Powell's certainly a microwave. He's been described as an undersized James Harden, as he can really fill it up.
Who said that?
It's in my notes. Someone mentioned that, per one scouting report. During
McDermott on the baseline.
Camp. That was after his junior year at Seton Hall.
Interesting.
Someone called him that.
And that was before he was a consensus All-American. Tries to go behind the back.
That's interesting. Down 16 midway through the 4th to try such a high-risk, high-reward play.
Whatever
but
it takes.
This is what Powell can do for you. I mean, coming into this game, Powell was 45% from downtown, can just absolutely fill it up. And while some players, most players who are in the G League won't get their call-ups through being a big-time scorer, Powell could be one of those guys who you could drop in an NBA game right now and he could get you 8 to 10 points in a jiffy.
He's got 17 tonight. 7 of 12 shooting, another efficient performance for him. And I think you have to be impressed with the way that, he has found his shots, but also trying to expand his game as he takes it here. Stepping back, pump faking, Powell. Oh, what a three!
And he can hit some high degree difficulty shots like that. How about the separation he created on that step back? And it was still very well contested. Doesn't matter, that's better offense.
Now he's up to 20. Powell, a combo guard, working on his point guard skills and defensive abilities as well. I think that's a great point. Heat check, that's short. Coaches will say all the time, the NBA already has scorers. They're not going to need you to be one, so fill a role. It's possible that Powell is such a good scorer that he could do that in the right situation at the next level.
Yeah, he's a different player, but kind of like what we've seen with Kendrick Nunn, who was a big-time scorer off the bench for the Santa Cruz Warriors, got called up to the Miami Heat, and finished second in rookie voting because he was averaging 15 a game last year.
Miami does such a good job as an organization to find G League pieces that can be part of the rotation. Harper accelerating to the cup. We've got an 11-point game, Kevin.
Yeah, Westchester fighting hard here. Miles Powell hitting some tough threes. They don't get any tougher than this with the hand of Benny Boatwright in his grill. He's got 20.
Big news travels fast on T-Mobile, the leader in 5G coverage and speed. That's why we're bringing out our best deal.
Better Stockton, David, Michael, or John?
Well, I think you would have to say John, right? I mean, he only is the NBA career leader.
I don't know. What's the criteria, I guess, right?
If you're talking about basketball, can't beat John. Michael Stockton, great. I want to say Michael Stockton was a lefty. Played for the Canton Charge, like 15-16 season or something like that.
Right on the money.
I think he is a left-handed player.
That I don't know, but he did play for Canton in 15-16.
And their sister, Laura Stockton, I cover a lot of WCC women's basketball. She's a hooper as well, played at Gonzaga.
11-point difference. Harper driving in.
That false step on the sideline, that'll get you. See that turnover all the time.
Is that against King? It was, right on the sideline there. Good catch, Kev. One of us is paying attention.
I do my best.
Yeah.
And you probably got another class to teach tonight.
Double header of academia. 3:19 remaining. So Westchester goes back to the White III, King, Moore, Harper, Brown lineup. It's the unit they used to start the second half when they went on a little run behind Jared Harper, who had 15 of his 24 in that period.
Yeah, this is a good closing lineup to have. Everyone could shoot the three.
J.J. Moore can do it. 8-point game, 3 minutes to go. Both these teams essentially playing for their playoff lives.
Yeah, pretty much a loser leaves town match right here.
Chances already slim for the hustle. A loss makes it official. Westchester losing tonight would be the third loss in a row.
Well, Darnell Coward, another one of those Murray State racers who's in the Grizzlies organization, slips, and J.J. Moore knows what to do when he has an open look at the hoop.
So for the next 51 seconds, we'll have the experimental G League free throw rule, and then 2 minutes and in, we'll have the traditional free throw rule. So 1 for 2 here for Caver, and he missed it.
The door is open, David.
3-possession game. King spinning, driving, pretty finish for Lewis King. Mismatch, Gillespie. Westchester switches back. Freddie Gillespie over Moore. It's a brick. Here's Harper leading the charge for Westchester. Paint touch, kick out. Moore got slammed down by Gillespie shooting a three. And so the veteran J.J. Moore with one free throw worth three.
He has been great today. 4 for 5 from downtown. And Gillespie, he's a shot blocker. He wants to contest, and he got a little too close there. There's another look. It certainly knocked him down. His momentum carried him into J.J. Moore. And here's a chance for one shot to cut the deficit in half at the foul line.
Moore takes advantage. One possession game approaching the 2-minute mark. Westchester coughed up a 22-point lead over the weekend in a loss to Iowa. They trailed in this one by 19. McDermott looking for the big slam. The other way. Harper finds Moore, lines it up off the rim. That was a good look for JJ.
That was a great setup by Harper, who could have taken a three himself in transition, but worked to get the ball into the paint, get that paint touch, and kick it out for a better look for Moore. You'll live with that any day of the week.
Moore was 4 of 5 prior to that miss. And now Brown commits the foul on the good pump fake from Ahmad Caver.
Yeah, this is a chance for Memphis to kind of settle some things down. They've left some points at the line, 5 for 8. They just missed a 2-point free throw, but now it's 2 free throws for Caver, and they could really use these because it's been a big run here from Westchester.
Number 1 rule of the G League, no lead is safe. Westchester was down by 19, and in the bubble, around 40% of the games this season, we're going to play 135 in total by the end of the week, have been decided by 2 possessions or less.
And this is a 110-94 game with 5.5 minutes to go. Memphis hasn't scored since 5:59. So 4.5 minutes, they've gone without a point.
And Caver has missed a pair of free throws for a total of 3 points down the stretch here. Salvages 1. And that's an important make because it's a 2-possession game. That ends a Westchester 13-0 run. Harper lost it. A battle for it. And a timeout called by Memphis as Gillespie pounced.
Just a great hustle play from a Memphis hustler there, and Freddie Gillespie getting his second.
And I think when it does, it deserves being recognized.
No, it really does. I mean, we talked about with the 0-10 Iowa Wolves at one point. They won 2 in a row before losing today. They have always really given teams tough outs. And yeah, Salt Lake City, they started 1-7. They've won 3 of their last 5. They've gotten some help from Elijah Hughes and Josh Green, NBA assignees. But yeah, the bottom of the G League table, there are no given games here in the bubble.
Soccer watcher Kevin Dana with us with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and off the glass and good. Caver. Harper the other way. His layup attempt won't go.
He thought that was touched on the rim, which would have been legal 6 or 7 years ago in the G League, but not anymore.
14-15 season, they adopted the FIBA goaltending and basket interference rules.
I love that rule.
Thank you for going deep down the rabbit hole in a 2-possession game with a minute to go. Can't resist.
I mean, he thought it was hit. He thought it was. I think that's why he kind of threw his arms up.
He already picked up a tee earlier. Perhaps good restraint there by the officials to keep Harper in this game as Caver tries to make up for things at the line. He was 1 of 3, now 2 of 4 in the final 3 minutes of play. Caver's giving them a good punch off the bench. Another miss, though. And a timeout was called. If it was after the dribble by Powell, they won't be able to advance. But I think the officials will acknowledge that Westchester called it immediately. And this is Westchester using its reset. So the opportunity to advance the ball into the front court. They can substitute but not huddle.
Well, if they don't score here, game's over. Need a bucket.
Harper triggers into Brown, creating some space, and Brown gets fouled. So they don't score from the field, but Bryce Brown is awarded 3 free throws.
You can see Jason March had his hands on his head. That certainly is not what you want to do. That's literally the last thing you want to do if you're Memphis. And, hey, you might as well challenge this, which Jason March is going to do. Let's take a look. All right, so he creates a separation, sticks his legs out there. Maybe Buchanan got him, like, just very close, very briefly on the release. But otherwise, I mean, that's if there's no contact up top, that's Brown searching for contact down below.
How to review the foul is that let's say that, well, it wasn't the case here because the challenge was unsuccessful, but it's like possible that if they called the second half of the foul and they didn't notice the first part, they could really assess it to that reach in and not the run in. I'm going down a rabbit hole here that I'm trying to avoid. Help dig me out.
Well, I was just going to say, like...
It's like off-season rule book reading.
Yeah.
Don't mind me.
We saw this kind of you mentioned how it could be overturned to an offensive foul. We saw it in the Detroit-Sacramento game last Friday, I want to say. Buddy Hield got an offensive rebound, put back and one, which was the original ruling. Then they took a look at it and said it was an offensive foul. Or maybe a loose ball foul on him because then Josh Jackson got free throws in a 2-point game, which he missed both of them. Everyone knows this, so I don't need to repeat it.
Yeah, this is all like proximity to the play stuff as part of the review, which, you know. So Memphis ball, it's a 5-point game, and it appears that Memphis is using a reset and making a substitution to get David Stockton back into the game.
Yeah, that's a good substitution. You want your best free throw shooters on the floor. You get Gillespie out of the game because he's a 44% free throw shooter.
So Lewis King making himself as big as he can to guard the inbounds. It's into Stockton. Because of the reset and the advance into the front court, shot clock was at 14 to begin the possession. Stockton has to hurry, spinning, does not get the shot off in time. And so it's still a 2-possession game, Westchester ball, with 2 timeouts remaining.
Yeah, that's an interesting wrinkle, David. The advance, you move it, the shot clock down to 14 instead of 24, and that allowed the Knicks to play one more possession of good defense instead of fouling.
I love the coordinated coaches and staff outfits this year. You know, the formal suits and everything have been left back in market. And so the ensembles have been well done. Tyler Hall, or Bryce Brown, rather, I beg your pardon. A high arcing 3 that's off target. Memphis the rebound, and the hustle trying to dribble it out. Westchester finally tracks down Caver. And Miles Powell, who has scored 20 points for the 4th straight game, finally gives the foul.
You were mentioning the outfits. None better than the lime green polos from the Iowa Wolves, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have one mind on this. I totally agree. Caught me by surprise the other game.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning it. That's why I brought it up.
Caver back to the line where he has been a frequent visitor in the final 3 minutes. Westchester made a push. They cut it to a 3-point game. But Memphis making enough plays and enough free throws down the stretch. Knicks call for time. It's a 30-second team timeout.
So basically, you need a 4-point play, a steal, and a 3. So if you're Memphis, you just don't.
And the Knicks had the ball down 3, and J.J. Moore had a beautiful look beyond the arc with a chance to tie. And after that point, Westchester has not had possession with the chance to tie or take the lead. Harper quickly off the inbounds, fires away and sticks it. 8.6 left after they reset the clock. Memphis without any timeouts remaining. The Hustle already using its reset, so they have to get it in. And 1.5 off the clock before McDermott was touched. And so as Kevin just outlined a moment ago, the fact that it's still a 2-possession game, still work to be done here for the Knicks. And so these free throws are relevant, but you can't extend it to a 3-possession game here at the line.
Yeah, Westchester can still advance the ball. They got a timeout remaining, so you're going to need a quick hitter, a turnover, and then a 3 to send this to overtime. I mean, this is a franchise whose parent club did play Reggie Miller 8 points, 9 seconds, so it's not impossible.
Westchester will use its final timeout heading into the playoffs that are off the 6th. Everybody's off the 7th before the playoffs start on the 8th. And for what we would imagine 8 teams that make the playoffs separated by very little, any type of slight advantage could be the difference. Harper wanted Powell instead. McDermott swoops in to pick it up. And Westchester capitulates. 118-112 the final.